who would win. I finally quit trying to predict a winner, but other cops had taken up the question. And during that first year at Central, I heard dozens of opinions. Blanchard by early KO, Bleichert by decision, Blanchard stopping on cuts, everything but Bleichert by knockout. When I was out of eyeshot, I heard whispers of our non-ring stories. Lee coming on the LAPD, assured of rapid promotion for fighting private smokers attended by the high brass and their political buddies, cracking the Boulevard Citizens bank heist back in '39, and falling in love with one of the heister's girlfriends, blowing a certain transfer to the detective bureau when the skirt moved in with him, in violation of departmental regs on shack jobs, and begged him to quit boxing. The Blanchard rumors hit me like little feint jabs, and I wondered how true they were. The bits of my own story felt like body blows because they were 100% straight dope. Dwight Bleichert joining the department in flight from tougher main events, threatened with expulsion from the academy when his father's German-American Bund membership came to light, pressured into snitching the Japanese guys he grew up with to the alien squad in order to secure his LAPD appointment. Not asked to fight smokers because he wasn't a knockout puncher. Blanchard and Bleichert, a hero and a snitch. Remembering Sam Murakami and Hideo Ishida manacled en route to Manzanar made it easy to simplify the two of us. At first. Then we went into action side by side, and my early notions about Lee and myself went bluey. It was early June of '43, the week before sailors had brawled with zoot-suit-wearing Mexicans at the Lick Pier in Venice. Rumor had it that one of the gobs lost an eye. Skirmishing broke out inland. Navy personnel from the Chavez Ravine Naval Base versus Pachucos in Alpine and Palo Verde. Word hit the papers that the Zooters were packing Nazi regalia along with their switchblades, and hundreds of in-uniform soldiers, sailors, and Marines descended on downtown L.A., armed with 2x4s and baseball bats. An equal number of Pachucos were supposed to be forming by the Brew 102 Brewery in Boyle Heights, supplied with similar weaponry. Every Central Division patrolman was called into duty, then issued a World War I tin hat and an oversized billy club known as a nigger knocker. At dusk, we were driven to the battleground in personnel carriers borrowed from the Army and given one order: restore order. Our service revolvers had been taken from us at the station. The brass did not want .38s falling into the hands of reet, pleat, stuff, cuff, drape, shape, Argentine ducktail Mexican gangsters. When I jumped out of the carrier at Evergreen and Wabash, holding only a 3-pound stick with a friction-taped handle, I got 10 times as frightened as I'd ever been in the ring, and not because chaos was coming down from all sides. I was terrified because the good guys were really the bad guys. Sailors were kicking in windows all along Evergreen. Marines in dress blues were systematically smashing streetlights, giving themselves more and more darkness to work in. Eschewing inter-service rivalry, soldiers and jarheads overturned cars parked in front of a bodega, while Navy youths in skivvies and white bell-bottoms truncheoned the shit out of an outnumbered bunch of zooters on the sidewalk next door. At the periphery of the action, I could see knots of my fellow officers hobnobbing with Shore Patrol goons and MPs. I don't know how long I stood there, numbed, wondering what to do. Finally, I looked down Wabash toward First Street, saw small houses, trees, and no Pachucos, cops, or blood-hungry GIs. Before I knew what I was doing, I ran there full speed. I would have kept running until I dropped, but a high-pitched laugh issuing from a front porch stopped me dead. I walked toward the sound. A high-pitched voice called out, "You're the second young copper to take a powder from the commotion. I don't blame you. Kind of hard to tell who to put the cuffs on, ain't it?" I stood on the porch and looked at the old man. He said, "Radio says cab drivers been making runs to the USO up in Hollywood, then bringing the sailor boys down here. KFI called it a naval assault. Been playing anchors away every hour on the half-hour. I saw some gyrenes down the street. You think this is what you call an amphibious attack? I don't know what it is, but I'm going back. You ain't the only one turned tail, you know. Another big fella came running this way pronto. Pops was starting to look like a wily version of my father. There's some pachucos who need their order restored. Think it's that simple, laddie? I'll make it that simple. The old man cackled with delight. I stepped off the porch and headed back to duty, tapping the knocker against my leg. The streetlights were now all dead. It was almost impossible to distinguish Zooters from GIs. Knowing that gave me an easy way out of my dilemma, and I got ready to charge. Then I heard Bleichert behind me and knew who the other runner had been. I ran back. There was Lee Blanchard, the Southland's good but not great White Hope, facing down 3 Marines in dress blues and a pachuco in a full-draped zoot suit. He had them cornered in the center walkway of a ratty bungalow court and was holding them off with parries from his nigger knocker. The jarheads were taking roundhouse swipes at him with their 2x4s, missing as Blanchard moved sideways and back and forth on the balls of his feet. The pachuco fondled the religious medals around his neck, looking bewildered. "Bleichert, code 3. I waded in, jabbing with my stick, the weapon hitting shiny brass buttons and campaign ribbons. I caught clumsy truncheon blows on my arms and shoulders and pressed forward so the Marines would be denied swinging room. It was like being in a clinch with an octopus, and no referee or 3-minute bell, and on instinct I dropped my baton, lowered my head, and started winging body punches, making contact with soft gabardine midsections. Then I heard, "Bleichert, step back!" I did, and there was Lee Blanchard, the nigger knocker held high above his head. The Marines, dazed, froze. The club descended, once, twice, 3 times, clean shots to the shoulders. When the trio was reduced to a dress-blue rubble heap, Blanchard said, "To the halls at Tripoli, shitbirds," and turned to the pachuco. "Hola, Tomas." I shook my head and stretched. My arms and back ached. My right knuckles throbbed. Blanchard was cuffing the Zooter, and all I could think to say was, "What was that all about?" Blanchard smiled. "Forgive my bad manners. Officer Bucky Bleichert, may I present Senor Tomas dos Santos, the subject of an all-points fugitive warrant for manslaughter committed during the commission of a Class B felony. Tomas snatched a purse off a hairbag on 6th and Alvarado. She keeled of a heart attack and croaked. Tomas dropped the purse, ran like hell. Left a big, fat, juicy set of prints on the purse, eyeball witnesses to boot." Blanchard nudged the man. "Habla inglés, Tomas?" Dos Santos shook his head no. Blanchard shook his head sadly. "He's dead meat. Manslaughter 2's a gas chamber jolt for Spix. Hepcat here's about 6 weeks away from the big adios." I heard shots coming from the direction of Evergreen and Wabash. Standing on my toes, I saw flames shooting out of a row of broken windows, crackling into blue and white flak when they hit streetcar wires and phone lines. I looked down at the Marines, and one of them gave me the finger. I said, "I hope those guys didn't get your badge number." "Fuck them sideways if they did." I pointed to a clump of palm trees igniting into fireballs. "We'll never be able to get 'em booked tonight. You ran down here to roust them? You thought—" Blanchard silenced me with a playful jab that stopped just short of my badge. "I ran down here because I knew there wasn't a goddamn thing I could do about restoring order. And if I just stood around, I might have gotten killed. Sound familiar?" I laughed. "Yeah. Then I saw the shitbirds chasing Hepcat, who looked suspiciously like the subject of felony warrant number 411-43. They cornered me here, and I saw you walking back looking to get hurt, so I thought I'd let you get hurt for a reason. Sound reasonable?" It worked. 2 of the Marines had managed to get to their feet and were helping the other one up. When they started for the sidewalk 3 abreast, Tomas dos Santos sent a hard right foot at the biggest of the 3 asses. The fat PFC it belonged to turned to face his attacker.